Hey everybody, it's Gail, and I am here today with this adorable little sun hat that came from the book Contemporary Crochet by Sid Friedens. And I got this book because I looked at all the pattern photos on Ravelry, and it's got a lot of uh, really classic silhouettes and a lot of very cozy looking stuff, a lot of mohair, which I always like a little mohair. It's all just it's cozy. Um, and so I grabbed it off of Thrift Books because it is out of print. Thrift Books once again, saving my interest. And I am going to talk about a few of the patterns in the book. That's where we've got stuff marked up. But first, I want to talk about the hat itself. So this hat is made with DK weight yarn. And the instructions say to use a 3mm hook, but I am saying don't do that. And the reason I'm saying don't do that is because the large size, as listed in the book, is like 21.75 inches. That's not a large head. I have a 22-inch head, and I went up a hook size to a 3.25. And as you can see, it's the fit is magnificent. My glasses are not to be counted. It's nice and snug, but it's not too tight. The brim is doing what it needs to do. Works great. So the way that this works is that the shell stitches, let me get you up here. The shell stitches here, you will see that, you work in between the shells as you generally do when you're working shell stitches, but there is no extra stitch here. So you work a shell, you skip a couple of stitches, you work another shell. There's no chain to work this into. You just work it between the stitches, and that's what gives this hat its structure. So very clever bit of design there. And the pattern itself actually has a couple of errors, and it's not an intense pattern. I do think, however, that the errors are because the copy that I have is translated from original, I think it was Dutch. So it's a translation, and I don't think it's a bad translation, but I do think that there is a little something missed in how things were explained. So I can give you an example. You know what? I'm just going to put the hat back on because I can. Here we go. I really do like it. It's a shame that it's cold right now and I don't need a cotton hat. So the hat itself, I have to find it. I didn't mark it. I marked all the stuff I wanted to talk about, not the thing I actually made. All right, so the hat itself. So one of the instructions it says is repeat round 5 until there are a total of 16 rounds of shells. And that is not actually correct because round 5 is where you start the shell pattern. And to start the shell pattern, you make a shell and then you skip 2 stitches, you make another shell. So round 6 should actually be start working between that first round of shells and you're working your way down from there. And I got about halfway through the sixth round, and I went, this is not right, because I was skipping every 2 stitches and it wasn't looking right. And so I pulled out and then I looked at the very nice photo it gave me, and was like, no, this is what it should be. But like I said, I think this is a translation issue. I do not think that this is a badly written pattern issue. And I've not worked with the other patterns in the book yet, but I just want to make you aware. If you do decide you want to grab this and work with it, just be aware there may be a little confusion like that. It's all fixable. I think it's worth it because I think these designs are really nice, except for one, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first, let's talk about the ones I did really like, that really drew my interest to this book. So the first one that I really noticed was the V-neck top. And what's interesting about this is that you make the left side and the right side, and then you seam it up the center, leaving a space for your head, and that creates the V-neck. And I like this as an idea, as a way to make something that's going to fit you pretty okay, but not be super dependent on exact measurements, which is always nice. I am a little concerned, however, that if you have, a stomach, or you don't have sort of a perfect square figure in general, that this is going to look weird once it's on you, because a center seam like that is going to sit differently than a side seam t-shirt, for example. And as the model is, well, I mean, clearly it was made to fit the model to look as good as possible because it's a project photo. But I'm a little wary, but I'm also willing to give it a try, at least on myself, and see how it goes. As always, I've talked about this before, I have a big difference between my waist and my hips, and this looks like it's supposed to hit at about the hips. So this may be one of those that I do make it, and then it's not going to fit because it's not going over my ass. That being said, let's move on to something that will definitely fit over my ass, which is this 3-tier skirt, and I am obsessed. You make this, they call for a mohair polyester blend in fingering weight, so a 1. So this would be something you would have to devote some time to. This is not going to build super quickly because it's fingering weight, but look at it. Oh my God. I want to make this exact one, and then I want to make 10 more in different colors. It's a mermaid skirt. I love it. I will get around to it at some point. And then one of the other ones I want to bring your attention to is the sweater with wide collar. And the reason I want to talk about this is because this book's from 2008. And that is an era where crochet, it's really an era of, was it trendy at the time and no longer works? Or is it something that can still work? And this is actually really indicative of the overall vibe of this book, which is this still works. This was a very 2008 sweater, the big collar, the longer sleeves that went over the hands. But it's also a look that can be very classic very easily. And I find that most of the sweaters in this book have that going for them, that really all you need is just make it in your favorite color, look great in it, boom, you're done. You're not going to get it. I went through Happy Hooker ages ago on the channel, and some of that stuff, like, there's nothing you can do to undo the fact that it's from the aughts. But this is sort of the antithesis of that, which is they were showing you how to do some really classic stuff and some fun colors and some different textures. And so it makes it a set of designs that can be worn over and over for a long time. And then finally, I do want to bitch a little. And I want to bitch about this, which is the fringed fleece shawl. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think there is anything wrong with the shawl. I don't think there's anything wrong with using crochet as like an additional bit of prettiness to something as is done here. But calling this a pattern in a book that is mostly tops, hats, bags, skirts, and having this in here like, oh, in this pattern. Come on. Come on. Like, you already had 36 designs. This is an edging. And that's fine. But it's being treated like, oh, and look at this, you can make this amazing shawl. I'm like, well, no, you're just adding some fucking trim to a big piece of fleece, which, no hate, but don't fucking bullshit me. Like, anyway, I think it's like 3 rows. Hold on, let me see here. Yeah, it is 3 rows, and then you add a shit ton of fringe. This is, no, not a fan. That being said, I am a fan of the rest of the book, obviously, or I wouldn't have it on my shelf. And I'm definitely a fan of this hat, which I cannot wait for summer. This does not tan, ever. So as many hats as I can get that are going to keep me from turning bright red, I'm for. There is I did make one other tiny change to this hat besides the hook size, which is that I did not do the ribbon around it because that's just asking for trouble. Oh, wow. Oh, no, don't wear it like that. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to give you a sense of what's in the book, besides the one piece that I have made. I will say, having made this, I think the rest of the book will be a lot of fun. I will link to the Ravelry page so you can check out the other patterns. As I mentioned, it is out of print, but you can find it. I would suggest checking your local library as well. It's probably floating around some of them. Yeah, we'll put a pin in it for now. So as always, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all that fun stuff. And I update about every 10 days. So I will see you in 10 days.